Hey guys, I'm back with a review, and this time it's a matte black AirPods Pro Reps from earpods.cc. These are a bit expensive, costing a hefty 95 bucks, but with the ever-present discount code, you can knock the price down to 76. These generally look very nice, and the matte black color really feels premium, but it is a bit slippery in the hands and ears. Now, before I start, I'm gonna tell you outright that these were given for free, and I was actually tempted to write a positive review for more samples and that juicy affiliate link profit. But I'm not. I ditched the positive tinted script I wrote for this project, and I'm just writing an honest one from scratch right now, because honesty is better than profit. Now, I already opened these to make that positive review I talked about, but since I scrapped that version, I'll have to do this already opened. The box is normal but black. It's literally an inverted version of normal AirPods, and with all mentions and logos of Apple removed. That should help it stay safe from possible seizures. In the box is a manual, except there's one default 5-page booklet instead of the 4 small manuals, safety and handling, regulatory compliance information, warranty, and so on, which is normally in other replica AirPod Pros. These also took care to remove all mentions of AirPod and Apple from the manual. They even switched out Apple for phone, but the manual seems to be decent quality. No spelling errors as far as I could see, which suggests that they directly copied Apple's manuals. Next are the AirPods, it's wrapped in plastic, but I took it off. That to the side. And underneath are the ear tips. And about the ear tips. As you can see, these are the wrong type of ear tips. These are for the V2s with extruding ear tip connectors, and these are the correct ear tips, which fit reps versions 3 and over, including retail AirPods. Not to mention that the ear tips are white, while the actual AirPods themselves are black. I don't really get how they made this mistake. Now, the AirPods are, as I said, V3.5s with correct ear tips and real metal vents, which is great. I just don't get why they didn't include the correct ear tips. Moving on. The cable is a typical USB-C to Lightning cable, nothing different here as far as I could see, and that seems to be it with the box, so let's get on to the AirPods. Now, I have this list that I'll be using to check the AirPods' functionality and quality, and a little point system to be able to compare different versions easily. A big shout out to members of the AirReps Discord community, especially my man Coconut, who helped me assemble these details. If you have questions or problems with your AirPods, just go ahead and ask them on the Discord. Now, I will start off with the technical aspects of the list, then go on to the software tests afterwards. The first thing on the list is the reverse magnets, and right off the bat, I'm seeing some problems. Reverse magnets hold the lid open when tilted and is a pretty standard feature on most AirPod clones nowadays. And I'll just say it outright, the reverse magnets are non-existent on these AirPods. If there's even an attempt at a reverse magnet, it shouldn't shut when I hold it upside down, and just look at that. Just look at that. I mean, this isn't too big of a deal, but it is inconvenient, and it is unfortunate that these get a big fat X as soon as I start reviewing them. Next is the one-to-one hinge design. So for some reason, most AirPod Pro clones have not been able to fix the hinge design. There are widely 3 variations. This flat hinge as seen on V2s, this semi-pointy version seen on many different reps, and the real hinge, where the triangular bit is separated from the lower hinge. You could easily use this indication to see if AirPods are real or not. As you can see, these matte blacks have the second variation, which is closer, but still incorrect. So, an X on that. And the ear tip connector. Now, I remember when it was just a rumor that black ear tips connectors were in development. Well, now it's become so common that if your version doesn't have it, it's just not worth their money. It's a clear sign that it's outdated. These do have the correct black ear tip connectors and some very nice ear tips to go along with it, but the replacement ear tips, as I said, yeah. The black parts surrounding the speaker are very nice and smooth. I'll give them that. It's just nice to look at. There's nothing much I'd point out, so that's a 9 out of 10. Let's put the ear tips back on. And for some reason, it doesn't make a snap sound. It just goes... Yeah. Now, about real metal vents. When a seller claims to have real metal vents, they mean that the vents are made of metal instead of a sticker. These do have the metal vents instead of stickers, which is a very nice addition, but they don't act like real vents yet. It's just a metal grill. Air doesn't pass through them. I mean, I understand the workers are too busy developing noise canceling and upgraded chipsets to be working on something like real vents. I'm sure it'll be developed soon, so I will put an X on working pressure vent and a check mark on the real metal vents. Now the LED. A diffuser is another name for the frosted glass in front of the LED light that's on retail AirPods. Now, as you can see, these don't have it, and you can feel the hole by running your fingers across it. I still don't get why it's so hard to add these. Just put a piece of frosted plastic on the LED. Anyways. Okay. Now I do think that this does have the LED fade. When I take an earbud out or put an earbud in, it does the little blinky thing. And when I shut the case, it also fades out after a few seconds. So I think I could count this as having the LED fade. So that's little weird. 0.5 points. Now the charging port is indeed a lightning port, Apple chargers, but I've got a little problem. When I plugged it in for the first time, it made a sound and now it's crooked, as you could, if you may be able to see right here. I would just think it's a defect with my unit, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. Still a check mark. On retail AirPods, the back button doesn't make a clicking sound, but it is on these, so I'll have to put an X on this. And the printing on the inside of the case is more or less accurate, except for the fact that the print on the curved edges are a bit unprinted, and the printing on the back is a little bit tilted to the side. That's an X, unfortunately. I didn't even expect matte black AirPods to have printing, actually. And in a similar vein, the serial numbers inside these are completely legitimate. I mean, they're black, so you really can't pretend that they're retail, which is good, but they do have real serial numbers. Now let's bring out our trusty scale to test the weight on these. This is getting dirtier by the day. Each pod should weigh 5.4 grams and the case at 45.6, which is 56.4 grams total. As you could see, each pod seems to weigh almost 4 grams, which is still a little bit off. But the case itself weighs 49 grams, which actually balances out the total weight to 56 grams. I don't even know how to grade this. They're both wrong, but I will give 1 point for the total weight. I wonder if this is intentional. Let me just tally all of that here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of 1, 2, 3, 4 out of 11. That's not that bad. That's exactly half. Now let's bring in our trusty iPhone SE to do the software tests. The connection is easy, just open up the lid and it connects. And I already went through the initial connecting process, but it works like default anyways. Why is a name like this though? Okay, now at first I thought the battery levels on these AirPods were actually quite accurate, but once I connected them again, the battery level started fluctuating, as you could see right now. Sometimes it's accurate, sometimes it's not. Oh boy, that's pretty bad. That's definitely a big fat X. Okay, and on retail AirPod Pros, when you connect them and drag up this panel, you could see an AirPod Pro logo right here. But as you can see on here, that hasn't been fixed, and you just see a normal AirPods logo. Now let's get on to the software tests. Now, as you know, I've had a pair of replica AirPods that actually had correct ear tip fit tests, but for some reason, these just don't. It just outputs a correct fit result regardless of how you put them in your ears. And look, I took both sides out of my ear, and it still says that both ear tips are sealed correctly. That's an X right there. Now, it's quite obvious that, active noise canceling isn't going to be implemented for a while now, and although there are pairs with transparency mode, like this sample I haven't even opened up yet, these aren't one of them. Switching between the different modes do nothing, and pressing and holding on the earbuds, instead of changing the options, just make your music pause for a little bit. Okay, in the settings for retail AirPods, you could go to General and About, and you find a page about your AirPods. For some reason, not a single AirPod replica was able to copy this feature yet. So it's silly to expect them to have the page, which they don't. Now about Multiple Device Connect. This is a nifty feature where you connect the AirPods to one device, but only take one earbud out. Now you take the earbud and the connected device out of the range of the second device so it doesn't just connect back to it, then get another device and connect again to the second device. If it works, congratulations! You can now hear two versions of Michael Jackson's Billie Jean through each eardrum. Obviously the touch controls work on both earbuds and devices as well, so it's a nice way to use one pair of earbuds between two people, or to listen to Michael Jackson twice at once. Okay, about pressure controls. Retail AirPod Pros have this pressure sensor inside the stem, so when you press here, it detects the pressure and, works like a button press. But most AirPod Pro replicas use a touch sensor instead, which is easier to make. It does allow for more accidental touches to happen, and it's no exception for these. Sometimes it randomly stops, but it's not too annoying, and it's probably because I have a little bump on the bottom of my ear that keeps pushing the earbud out. Phew, almost done with the list. Okay, the audio latency on these is a bit bad. I could clearly notice the latency, and according to some tests I did, it always seems to be just about 50th of a second off sync. That's half a second off sync. This clearly doesn't matter if you only listen to music. In fact, the audio quality is great. But for gaming or video watching, it's a bit annoying, so have this in mind. And now, the staple of AirPod replica tests, the microphone audio test. I've got a few devices here which I'll be using to compare the microphone quality of these various devices and compare them to the AirPods. So now this is how my voice sounds on the Galaxy Note 9. And this is how my voice sounds on the AirPod Pro Replica. This is how my voice sounds on the iPhone SE. I recorded this bit separately, of course. And this is how my voice sounds on the Canon PowerShot 530HS. It's nowhere near good, but I'd say that these are still usable for phone calls and whatnot. I guess the manufacturers save money by using cheap microphones. Okay, now this is the last part I'm going to go over, I swear. I'm getting pretty sick making these myself too. But it's also one of the most important parts I have to go over. Today I'll be doing a teardown, well, not exactly a teardown, of these matte black AirPod Pro replicas. Opening it up is fairly simple. First you pop off the bottom charging connector, then you use a sharp object, such as a knife, to carefully pry open the seam on the top of the AirPods. Once you've taken the two halves apart, you can now gently tug the stem to inspect the chipset. This is a bit of a surprise since the sellers originally claimed that these contained a Qualcomm chipset. These contain a GLE or JL chipset. To make things clear, GLE chipsets aren't too bad anymore, sometimes sounding even better than Aero chipsets. But the problem lies in that it was advertised as a Qualcomm chip. I contacted the sellers, who then checked in with the factory and told me that the factory had supposedly been supplying them with GLE chips starting in March without their consent. A likely story. But they did do the right thing and changed all the descriptions to GLE chip and lowered the price a bit, which explains the price difference in the beginning. We could also see that the AirPods contains a little pressure sensor that also doubles as a touch sensor. We could tell that it's not a legitimate pressure sensor because it activates without it being pressed hard enough as well. So, in conclusion, I'm going to try to make the outro quick because this video is too boring as it is already. These are a decent pair of AirPod Pro clones. You could buy it if you'd like, especially if you're uncomfortable with Chinese websites or something. And if you do, please consider using my affiliate link below to support me so I could buy more crap to review. Thanks for watching till the end. I'm getting pretty sick of making the video myself. And from now on, I'll try hard to make the video easy to see and to enjoy. As always, for questions or problems, do visit the AirReps Discord. And until next time, keep safe.